United States President Donald Trump has launched missiles in a direct attack on the Syrian government in response to the government's use of chemical weapons on its own people. As you may know, Russia and Syria are big allies. Russia has now responded to say that relations with the United States are poor and that they condemn the actions of Trump. The United States' big allies, the United Kingdom and Canada, are in full support of America's active aggression. Meanwhile, South Korea and North Korea are launching test missiles dangerously close to one another, with Trump responding by threatening North Korea with aggression. So, are we on the brink of World War III? And did Donald Trump trigger it? I'm Rebecca Felgate, and this is exactly the question we'll be answering in today's episode of Life's Biggest Questions. So, America has launched missiles at targets in Syria. Some could say, same story, different day. If the decision from Trump seemed rash, remember that war is nothing new for the United States. As the figures so infamously announce, America has been at war for 93% of its history. If this is nothing new for the States, then how could it possibly lead to multiple outbreaks of war big enough to be deemed World War III? Well, the problem here is that tensions have been building globally for a long time. As Russia grapples to be a superpower, it provides support to Syria in the Middle East. Syria has been at war with its own people since 2011 and has been the cause of more ISIS recruits than ever, with the jihadi terrorists utilizing the chaos to gain an upper hand. The West had previously acted cautiously when it came to meddling in Syrian affairs, not wanting another Afghan-style war on its hands. However, President Bashir al-Assad has undoubtedly committed war crimes when he used chemical weapons on his people. How long can those committing war crimes be ignored by other world leaders? In support of the US actions, we have the UK, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Japan, Israel, Turkey, Jordan and Spain. Not in support per se, but completely understanding, we have Germany and Italy, and indeed France. Against the strikes, however, we have Syria, obviously, their allies Iran, and here's the problem, China and Russia. China, let's not forget, supports North Korea. What an absolute mess. Now we know where everyone stands, let's address the fact that this question is two-pronged. We're asking, has Trump started World War III? Now, before we even talk about Trump, we need to look at whether World War III is even a likely outcome. This is an imagined scenario, but this is the way it could pan out. So, America has launched missiles on Syria and has the backing of some pretty major countries. If Assad continues to use chemical weapons on his people, this could provoke more strikes on the Syrian government. If this reached boiling point, this could cause aggression between Russia and China on the states and their allies. In a direct knock-on effect, this could be the excuse needed for North Korea to begin their much-discussed and much-practiced acts of aggression on South Korea, ultimately sending much of the world into war again. Only this time, we have nuclear weapons, and really, that isn't something that anybody wants to experience. Is it fair to say, if any of this did happen, that Trump would be to blame? Would the history books, if there was anyone left to write them, say that Donald Trump started World War III? Well, no. Trump's move was bold and scarily quick, but that is irrelevant to this question. If we could point the finger of blame at anyone if World War was triggered, it could very well be President Assad of Syria and again, Kim Jong-un of North Korea. We do not have time in this video to go deep into the ins and outs of Syrian and Korean politics. Here are the key points of what led to the Syrian chemical attacks. Assad assumed power in the year 2000. Assad is the son of the previous president of Syria, with the same family ruling the country for decades. While elections did take place, many were concerned with corruption. The way Bashir al-Assad took power was kind of like if Donald Trump had ruled America for 30 years and intended to give power down to Eric when he died. But unfortunately, Eric died too, so in the end, the job goes to Barron, who never really thought he was going to have to do it in the first place. Doesn't sound the most transparent and democratic, right? Well, this is what a lot of Syrians thought, and in 2011, they held a peaceful protest to call for more democratic rights. This is when Assad committed his first war crime, as he ordered his government to fire on peaceful protesters, killing hundreds and imprisoning more. Violent suppression of peaceful protest is a war crime. Since then, Assad's regime has been officially linked with 3 other war crimes, including chemical attacks on civilians, specifically with the chemical sarin. The United Nations, of which America is a key player, has a responsibility to act against war crimes. China and Russia are also part of the UN. If these latest airstrikes do lead to World War, which I really hope they don't, it would not be fair to pin the blame on Donald Trump, who was acting with the support of many leading world nations in the response to a clear and abhorrent use of war crimes. At this point, the current tensions can be pinned on Syrian President Assad and his inability to peacefully govern his country, not to mention the fact that the civil war he sparked has been a huge fuel to the devastating fire that is ISIS. On top of that, the displacement of millions of Syrians are the result of his civil war. Further tensions again can be directly attributed to Kim Jong-un in North Korea, having carried out 5 nuclear tests. America is quick to respond, and perhaps Trump's intervention is rash, but his actions are effect rather than cause. Something worth a quick mention before we end this video: people may be wondering why Russia has such a vested interest in Syria, and why they're not condemning Assad's actions. Well, the answer has 3 letters: oil, which again does somewhat muddy the waters for America's motives too. Could America's response to war crimes be tangled up in a desire to further destabilize the country in an attempt to support the proposed Qatar-Turkey pipeline? Well, there is enough there to make up a whole new video. So, has Donald Trump started World War III? Well, no. He acted out against war crimes that had so long been ignored. He has also threatened to treat further nuclear testing from North Korea with force. Was this act of aggression the right approach, and were ulterior motives at play? Well, perhaps. And perhaps they would make for a great future episode of Life's Biggest Questions. If you have any further comments on this topic, please do leave them in the comments section down below. But remember, a good argument is a constructive argument, and there really is no need for foul language to get your point across. Thank you very much for watching today's episode of Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Rebecca Felgate. Remember to stay curious, stay alert, and never ever stop questioning.